Coming to you live from deep within a sunny and grassy, and now actually
Coming to you live.
really not that bad of a
Sunny and grassy.
not
Wait,
that
wait,
bad
wait.
of a climate. I know. I got it.
All right.
Sorry,
No, no,
guys.
Shame on you, Alison.
I didn't know who that was. I thought it was Karen.
Okay,
but-
boomer.
Yeah.
No, it was me. It was me. I had the actual video open. So coming to you live from deep within a sunny and actually pretty pleasant radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the alt-right apocalypse. Once more wading into I missed something. We are the
The
few,
brave.
the brave, the bitch.
Yeah, the few, the brave, the bitch.
The few, the brave, the bitchy, the survivors of the alt-right apocalypse, once more wading into battle against the froggy lobster zombie hordes. Okay, there we go. I got through it.
NPC. We need to add NPC hordes.
Allison, you
And
need
then-
to just so that it doesn't sound as echoey as it is, you got to bring your mic a little closer.
Oh, you're right. Okay, yes, just give me a second here.
Either that.
Yeah, no, right here.
Yeah.
There
we
you go.
There we go.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
better.
That's a
Yeah.
lot better. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. That's why we pay you the big bucks, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Rantzerker number, what is it, Brian?
200. No, I'm sorry. 161.
161. What the heck did I
Yes.
end up titling this?
Meghan Markle has knocked Joe Rogan off the top spot on Spotify. Is this legit?
Yeah, I think not.
Um,
What do you
you
think?
know, I really don't think that. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, okay, to the news cycle today. But apparently last night, Joe Rogan interviewed
Mark
put up a
Zuckerberg.
podcast, Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark Zuckerberg said that in early October of 2020, the FBI came to him. Can you stop texting me, Jesus Christ? The FBI came to Facebook and said there was a lot of Russian propaganda floating around during the 2016 election, and we've been put on notice that there's something big about to drop, right? Some big dump that's similar to that's about to drop. Be on guard, be vigilant. And that's why the Hunter Biden laptop story was suppressed.
Yeah, but that's not news because Meghan Markle.
No, but the news, no, we know that social media suppressed it.
Yeah,
we know
we know
that's
that.
the only reason why Biden won, right?
Yeah,
and Trump
sure.
didn't, because Trump Media Research Center basically did a poll just after the election and found that Trump would have, if just that one story, if it had been reported accurately, Trump would have won with 311 electoral votes, right?
Okay.
Because actual Biden voters would have turned away from him. Almost 10% of actual Biden voters would not have voted for Biden, right? But the fact that the FBI, that Zuckerberg, I'm not shocked that the FBI went and did this. What I'm shocked about is the fact that Zuckerberg would actually say it.
Yeah. It was almost like they already know they won, so they can now, and there's nothing we can do about it. It could be that, or it could just be that Mark, like Joe Rogan made Zuckerberg feel so comfortable that he just said this, And
I wonder if he slipped him some roofies or something.
I don't know. Mark Zuckerberg on drugs, I imagine, looks just
maybe like a
Mark,
micro dose of
Mark Zuckerberg not on drugs. Yeah, I don't know. It could be. But it is funny that I was thinking the same thing when I looked up Meghan Markle. So I learned that she's got this podcast called Archetypes, and I go to Spotify and it's #1. And I'm like, how is this #1 especially after the podcast that Joe Rogan just did? Like that, because Joe Rogan's I think he's been #1 on Spotify since he moved to Spotify.
Well, do people have to pay for her podcast?
No, I don't think so. Do they have to pay for Joe Rogan's?
It might depend on the person. I don't think they do, no, because you can find entire Joe Rogan shows on YouTube, and there's plenty of
Yeah, no,
clips. So
but like on Spotify, do people have to pay to watch her pod or listen to her podcast or whatever on Spotify? Right?
yeah,
Like,
I don't know how Spotify works.
yeah, I don't either. But
It,
if you don't have to pay, there might be a lot of hate listeners.
yeah, that's true. That listen to Joe Rogan or Meghan
No,
Markle.
that listen to Meghan Markle.
Because I'm probably counting it as a listener, right?
Yeah.
I'm probably counting it. I actually I don't know if this I took a download as well, but and I did not listen to her with any sort of pleasure.
Did you have to pay for the episode?
No, I didn't. I could just listen to it for free.
Then I'm guessing that it's just a lot of people who want to listen so that they can rag on her.
Yeah, it's all the entire UK just was listening, and they're like,
oh yeah, no, because I mean, like they hate that woman, and you know, like
she's like one of the most hated women on earth, like maybe right after Amber Heard. You know,
well, I mean, the reason why the Brits hate her so much, right? Particularly people who actually admire the royal family, is because of what she turned Harry into, right? She turned him into a guy who changed his name and took on a fake identity in order to join the military, right? And fight overseas. Right? He was badass. Everybody loved him for that, right? I mean, William was like, you know, oh, he's balding and he's kind of like his dad and he's a bit of a fuddy-duddy and, you know, and whatever. But Harry was dynamic. Harry was like, oh my God, you know, he literally took on a fake identity to go join the military and fight for his country and all of this stuff, right? And because he couldn't, of course, go as a prince because that would make him a target.
He
right?
would get that make him a target. He'd get special treatment. It would just be like a mess.
Yeah, it would be horrible.
Yeah.
But effectively, she turned him into the most whipped of men.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't just carry his gonads in her handbag. Her handbag is made out of his gonads, right?
Yeah.
And then she carries her makeup in it and her spending money.
Yeah, she doesn't seem like a very a nice person, shall we say.
She definitely indulges in the status that she gets from being with him, which almost makes you think, like, is that the only reason she did this? And she's really shitty to the royal family. And I, you know, yeah, I mean, I know she's American, but I officially like disavow her as an American citizen for that. I think that's really shitty. So
I wonder if she actually ended up making the royals more sympathetic to some people.
I think so. So. All the royals except for Harry. And you know, and when she actually did the interview with Oprah, and she talked about how there were like racist comments about like brown babies and stuff like that, you know, among the royal family. Everybody thought it was Prince Philip, who happened to be on his frickin' deathbed at the time. Right? And everybody just assumed it was him because he's always been a little bit, reminds me of my dad. He'll say like the most freaking insane shit, you know, like he walks past a freaking electronic panel or whatever and he's like, oh, that looks like an Indian made it, you know, like, and you know, like, I mean, he's just like, he just says whatever comes to his mind. And yes, he's like, he was in his 90s or some shit, right? So he's going senile, so he's saying stuff that, you know, so everybody just assumed it was him, right? And she refused to name anybody, right? Oh, I couldn't possibly divulge who, right? And so of course everybody just assumed it had to be Philip, right? The Queen's husband and consort, right? And I'm just like, while he was on his frickin' deathbed, and which is just a really low blow. And why would you do it? why would you do it? Why would you even air that dirty laundry? Right? Because you got married, and she's like, and then the queen wouldn't even come to our official wedding, right? Well, the queen came to your reception, and the queen came to blah blah blah, but she didn't come to the ceremony at Westminster Abbey because you weren't granted an annulment from your previous marriage.
Mm.
Right? So you actually, or they weren't married in Westminster Abbey, right? So like you didn't, that was the whole purpose of not having the big official wedding, is because you're a divorcee who was not granted an annulment. You have 2 kids from your previous marriage, or however many that she has, right? And so you, and even her dad is like, I don't want anything to do with this bitch.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
her biological father is like, I
know
don't
what
want nothing to do with her.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, it's going to be an issue because I guess they still keep with the more traditional religious opinions about divorce and
Well,
marriage.
I'm sure that, like, because the queen didn't attend, I don't know whether what's his name and Camilla Parker Bowles are married. I think they are, but if they are, the queen didn't attend that either.
Mm.
Right?
Oh, okay. I see.
So,
yeah, it might be a propriety thing.
Yeah, no, and it's basically, it's just, divorcees. There was that whole Wallace Simpson thing, and the king had to give up his crown, and
Uh-huh.
because he married some freaking American divorcee, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least Harry, well, actually Harry didn't have to give up his royal family status, but he did because Meghan Markle talked him into it.
Yeah. Isolating the hell out of it, away from his family. That's usually a really bad sign, guys.
Oh yeah. Oh
like,
yeah.
The terrible sign that something is not something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the I guess the conjecture is now, so was it shenanigans that put her in the top spot with Joe Rogan?
We don't know.
Pop Joe Rogan.
Yeah, but we
Or
don't know.
Was it
but
the fact the entirety of the UK was hate watching her first podcast?
That's possible. Well, and I don't even think just the UK, because I don't think anyone likes her. Like, I don't think American women like her either. There's because
I think she was liked by black women for a while. I don't know if that's still the case.
Kinda, because she sort of sold herself as a strong, independent black woman that married into, right, the royal family. So there is like a selling point there, but I don't know that it's like been able to withstand the test of time. I believe that Meghan Markle is like one of the most unlikable women on earth, and if she's getting legitimate watches from people, it's probably mostly from hate watchers. But it's also possible that Spotify is trying to artificially make her number one. Maybe they promote her podcast more because Joe Rogan never needed it. People have been watching Joe Rogan because they like the guests, because they like the way that he conducts his interviews. And so, like, most people, Joe doesn't have to promote himself, basically. I mean,
yeah, and they don't have to promote him.
Yeah, and they don't have to promote him, but they may need to promote Meghan Markle. So Meghan Markle has a podcast called Archetypes, and it's literally, a podcast where we investigate, dissect, and subvert the labels that try to hold women back. So this is a straight up
hold women accountable, you mean?
Yeah, it's a straight up feminist podcast. She gets on female guests, and I think actually it's kind of interesting. And then I'll shut up so we can listen to some of it. But it's interesting because overall, I think the Joe Rogan podcast is actually really popular with men because he's like into fitness and hunting and the Second Amendment and MMA, and he gets a lot of these MMA guys on. So this is like the overall.
And he really likes elk meat.
Yeah, and he talks about chimps and how scary they are, and it's like stuff that guys talk about. You know, it's
Shark Week and
yeah, exactly. You know, like guys, you know, my age, older, we'll still talk about, well, who'd win, a gorilla or you know, a shark? You know, like, and of course,
how do you survive a leopard attack?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that, like, despite my disagreements with Joe Rogan, of which I have plenty, his show, because of the person that's doing it, I think that it's generally geared, or at least it has a much larger following of men. And a lot of it also has to do with how kind of, you know, un-PC it can be at times. You know, he had on, like, you know, Louis C.K. not long ago. And that's a guy that, you know, shouldn't be getting any exposure anymore because we've unpersoned him because he jerked off into a plant. But Joe Rogan...
No, that wasn't...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got him confused for Weinstein. Yeah,
he jerked off onto his own stomach in front of two women after he asked permission to do so.
And then
yes. They giggled and went, ew, gross and creepy. And then like, hee, and left. And then they were like, oh, we were so traumatized.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know,
well, even if they give their permission, they haven't given their permission, apparently.
Yeah, that's the way it works. So, in a way, though, you know, just getting him on, and I know a lot of it has to do with, you know, they know a lot of the same people, and, you know, Joe's just kind of a forgiving guy when it comes to his fellow comedians in particular. But I think that because of stuff like that, his audience is probably primarily male. And Meghan Markle's is being, it appears to me that it's engineered towards women. I'm not saying it's appealing to them, because I don't know, but it's #1 right now, and I'm fairly certain guys aren't watching this or listening to this. So, and that's what I find interesting, is the #1 and #2 podcasts appear to be like opposites, really.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's the UK, like the entire UK tuned into Hate Watcher.
Yeah, Piers Morgan probably, like, he's got it on every device playing simultaneously. and he's got all his staff listening to it, and then he's gonna like do a big monologue on his show on Fox.
Yeah.
You know, about what a POS
pick out every phenom. That's how you say that, right? Phenom.
Yeah.
Phenom. What?
Phenom. No. Like each sound segment.
Oh, yeah.
Every syllable is maybe the right way of putting it in this case. But yeah, anyway, so I should mention to everyone, or announce that we're doing our monthly fundraiser. It's a bit late this month. So we really appreciate it if you go to feedthebadger.com/badger-media-blitz, which there's I believe a link in the low bar, Brian, right? There's a link in the low bar.
Yeah, there's a link in the description. There's two.
And there's 2 links.
Yeah, you can pick which one you want. They both go to the same place, but yeah.
Yeah, and if we don't get anything when we get to maybe 45 minutes in, I might have to do some arm twisting, which will annoy Karen, and then she'll yell at me, and nobody wants that. So please go.
No. You won't do any. Brian?
Yeah.
Cue up the feminist wailers.
Oh my God, he's ready for you.
Okay, because I would rather listen to that.
I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it if I play it.
Alison.
Let me see if you guys can hear this, because I don't know if this is going to work. Let me just say, I'm just checking.
And Corn Pop was
Brian
a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
All right, I was just checking.
Some bad boys.
I was just testing.
Yeah, okay, it looks like we got
learned about roaches.
All right, so take a moment, just every bit counts, $5. Take a moment to go to feedthebadger.com/badger-media-blitz. And again, like we need to be able to fund the show for the months, and that is all on you guys, because we don't really get any advertising income in. And we don't necessarily get attract sponsors. So please do go to feedthebadger.com/badger-media-blitz so that we can continue to bring this content to you and bring attention to these issues in the way that we do. All right. Let us begin.
So, would you like me to jump into the video that you sent me?
Yes.
Or it's not video, but it's like a 2-minute.
Well, I noticed that you got a preview as well.
I do. I have a preview of the first episode of her podcast, I think, because it hasn't been out very long, which is another reason why I think it's really fishy that it's like number one. And in the first episode, she spoke with her friend Serena Williams. You know, the famous
the tennis player.
Tennis
I
player,
think that
yeah.
might be why. Because
Um,
wasn't Serena the one who flipped out on
yeah,
that,
she threw a tantrum. That's all I know her for, is that she threw a
well,
tantrum once.
yeah, no, I know her for like she was like number one in the world female tennis player,
Mhm.
right? And like extremely talented, but you know, a judge or referee or whatever you call it, in tennis called her on a couple of things, and she flipped her shit.
I remember that.
One of them was her coach was actually coaching her from the stands, and that's not allowed. You're not allowed as the coach to actually, you know, oh, go do this, do that, do the other thing, right? And he was actually, and he admitted that he did it, right? But she flipped out. It was so unfair. How can you give me a penalty for that? She threw her racket. And she pulled a whole total John McEnroe. I don't know if you guys are
I know John
old enough to
McEnroe.
remember that guy, but
Yeah, sure.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
famous for his little temper tantrums. He'd like smash his racket on the ground and stuff. And
Did he get reprimanded for it?
oh yeah, no, he
Of
was
course.
he was famous for it, and
Yeah.
he got in like, and then when he retired from tennis, he actually built he's kind of like Charles Barkley. He built a career on doing advertisements, commercials and stuff, where he lost his temper and stuff, you know, like playing up on that, right?
Mhm.
Just like Charles Barkley kind of played on his whole, you know, bad boy image and stuff to like, yeah,
I got you.
make
That
a
makes
post career.
yeah, definitely. So I mean, was there really any bias against her? I mean,
No,
yeah,
her
in terms
coach
of
admitted he was
punishment.
doing it.
So her
Yeah.
coach admitted she was doing it, and she got upset at something that they were legitimately called out on.
Yeah.
And was the punishment more severe than in any other case?
Oh,
Well,
I don't think so.
yeah, whatever
Okay.
the normal, penalty would be, I guess, is what it was. But yeah, it was in the news and everything, because there was talk about like how it had something to do with her being a woman, or they were trying to make the argument that it had something to do with her being a woman, but
She did a press conference afterwards and said it was misogynoir.
Misogynoir.
yeah, I forgot about misogynoir. Very serious stuff. So serious we had to create a portmanteau so that we could describe it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just like, all right, so you're a high-strung, high-performance athlete. Join the club.
Yeah.
Like, just be why can't she just be like, if it's a situation, you know what, I did it. You know what? Live with it. I took my penalty. We're all moving on from this crap. Or
Yeah.
make commercials where she just destroys stuff. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you could just have fun with it. I think it's funny
Have
because
fun
if
with
you
it.
do, we'll all probably be
But
really forgiving.
here's the other thing. Is it really that big a deal? Like, she's an athlete who had a temper tantrum. Like, how many? I mean, look at the soccer, the European football players. One of them is like pretending to have an epileptic fit once a game.
Yeah, that
They're being
their
tapped.
legs
Oh,
exploded.
look at
on the
LeBron
inside.
James. Like every time somebody like comes within 3 inches of him, he like freaking just takes a dive.
Yeah, it's like,
Pretends he's
I mean,
injured.
this is why do they have to? Why does this have to be such a big thing? You had a temper tantrum over something that you were legitimately called out for. You were punished for it, presumably not worse than anybody else, and that's the end. You just be like, yeah, I'm high strung. I have a temper. Like, I am. It's a very high pressure sport. You can love me for what I can do, and also my flaws, or you can lump it or leave it and just move on. Why do you have to constantly make excuses and twist language and people's perceptions in order to always appear to be an angel or something, or innocent, or the victim? You get what I'm saying, Karen?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Just be like,
it's-
yeah,
Well-
I had that temper tantrum once.
That's
Who cares?
why I think that's the reason why she got the negative attention, because all athletes they do stuff like that, sure, but they get really angry, they don't like a call, like that's something that just happens. But at some point they either have to swallow their pride and admit that they overreacted or whatever, and then like later on you just say, look, I was mad at the time, but I realize now that was a legit call, whatever, and then you swallow your pride, you move on. In general, most people will be like, that was that was very mature of you to do that, and
you don't
they
even have
accept
to
it.
admit. You don't even have to admit that it was a legit call. You can say, I don't feel that was a fair call. Right? She could have said, I wasn't looking at my coach, so it didn't matter that he was coaching me from the stands. I wasn't looking at him, right? So I don't understand why I'm being punished for something that my coach was doing without me even knowing it, right? That's why I got so mad. That's why I feel it's unfair, right? Don't go straight to misogynoir.
It's just like, well,
never go.
That's my
What's
point.
the pressure behind doing that? This is what I'm getting at. What's the pressure behind doing that? Like, why does she feel like she has to be the victim rather than just saying, nobody died.
Yeah, right.
No country was invaded. No bombs were dropped. Like, nobody ended up in the hospital. I lost my temper. Let us move on with our lives.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's because, there is something to be gained from making those kinds of allegations, right? So
less and less, right? The return on investment. On investment for those kinds of allegations now, right?
It's becoming less.
It's
abused.
And I'm here for it.
Because it's being abused. Like, and this is the thing. Like, what is the pressure? What I'm trying to get at is, what is the pressure on Serena Williams to insist on playing the victim because she has to preserve something, right? She's preserving something.
She can play the victim all she wants. Just play the victim as Serena Williams, who was unfairly called out for something her coach did. And then threw a temper tantrum. Don't play the victim for being a black woman in sport, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but a black woman in sport.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah, like one of the most, like, everybody knows who FloJo is. Everybody knows who Venus and Serena Williams are. Like, you look at black women in sport, and it's like, honestly, I don't think that they have a hard time.
No.
Just like black men in sport.
They make good money.
That they have a hard time. They make good money because they tend to be very fit, athletic, driven, all of those things, and it's just one of those things. It's one of those real realities of biology, right?
Well,
is that
black people have more muscle mass and bone density. This is getting, I don't know, maybe
it's getting into biological essentialism.
Essentialism.
Well, I think the going back to the Meghan Markle podcast, I think because that she was the first guest, and the Meghan Markle podcast apparently is all about labels that are used by society, i.e. men, to hold women back. And so I think that her having Serena Williams on, and I haven't listened to it yet, but I can guess that this is going to be about how Serena Williams is a victim of a label, because that's the entire theme of the podcast. So, she can make millions of dollars per tennis game, and it won't matter because some people say that, she has a short temper, or she's an angry black woman, which I could totally see them doing, things like that. So remember, like, this is the reason why the podcast exists. So do you guys want to listen to
yeah, sure. I just like, I'm just give me a moment to try to explain what I'm getting at. And I know this is like the third time, but maybe this will be the charm. We can't hear you, Karen.
Karen,
We
you're
can't hear you.
muted for some reason.
Yeah, because I was yelling at my husband to not
Oh.
walk back and forth behind me.
Naked.
All right,
Yeah,
all
we
right.
got it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, he's only half naked.
Yeah, half naked, but it's the
Yeah, but
bottom
which
half.
is
It's the
which
half that's
half?
really critical.
No.
The right half.
Well, no, he's not pulling the worst look for a man ever, which is a shirt with no underpants or anything and socks. Okay, 'cause that is just like, a woman in a lumberjack shirt, no underpants, and some fuzzy, comfy socks. That can be sexy, right?
Mhm.
Not the case for a man. Not the case.
It's true. It's true.
There's dangly things that
Mhm.
Yeah.
you could have the body of Brad Pitt. You could have the body of Thor. That's not a good look.
Yeah, it's like
I
we
can
don't
say
they
a lot
don't
about
they don't make shirts so that we could do that. It's all very
It'd have to be,
unflattering.
but
It's all
they'd have
very
to be like
unflattering.
Just
Greek
wear some
robe
baggy
long.
pajama pants or a pair of boxers, bury your chest and all of that. Rub some oil on yourself so you're all glistening and ripped
And
and all of that.
that'll do it.
Yeah, walk back and forth behind me all you want if that's what you look like. But
Yeah, no, I got you. Well, what I was trying to get at is that there is the pressure here that they're responding to, and they aren't addressing. They can say, well, don't apply these archetypes to me all you want, but Serena Williams and Meghan Markle are playing the victim because they want to preserve a particular viewpoint of themselves as perfect. It's like nobody's perfect.
well,
Just live
okay,
with
but
it.
isn't the perennial victim an archetype of women?
Yes. It's like it is the most
It's like this weird circle of
it's the snake eating its own tail. It's this weird this is the perennial victim is the most powerfully inflicted on women in our entire culture. Like, you try to oppose the archetype of victim, yeah, you're gonna be in for shit. But they're not going to challenge that because they're not really challenging anything.
They love that archetype.
Yeah,
They're just a
'cause it
victim
gives
of
them
every
power.
other archetype. Because the other archetypes involve them as bad actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the like I said in the teaser, what about the bloviating nincompoop archetype?
Oh God, that'd be like Jenna Marbles, except she actually manages, or used to, I don't know if she's still around, used to manage to say intelligent things while pretending to be a bloviating nincompoop.
Or Anna Akana, who actually is a bloviating nincompoop and means it.
Oh God, what's her name? Who's the one that used to do Decoded or whatever?
Lacey Green?
Francesca.
Oh, Francesca Ramsey. Yeah, Francesca Ramsey. Holy shit.
Back it was a while ago, but it was after MTV got out of the music business and got into the social justice business.
Of which they stopped doing that. I don't think they're doing that anymore. MTV.
Well, they're now having Johnny Depp as a anchor or something, like a host.
Johnny Depp works for MTV.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that.
I'm
MTV,
just really surprised by that.
I will double check this, but yes. Oh, he's Johnny Depp to make a surprise appearance at MTV's VMAs as Moon Man. So,
Not really is it a surprise if they tell us they're going to do it?
Sorry, it's not. There's yeah, I said no, it isn't. Surprise. Well, the surprise is now, not at the actual event. No, but it is sort of a sign that they may be reeling back the woke, because despite Johnny Depp disliking Trump and being on the left because he got on the wrong side of Amber Heard, who is a media and feminist DV NGO darling, he is now the ultra right Nazi. So
Welcome.
I mean, come on,
Welcome
that's
to
how it
the
works.
club, Mr. Depp.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
know.
welcome to
Yeah,
the
we
club.
He's one of us now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
There's
might
no-
as well
there's no
pledge your
escape.
allegiance to the ultra mega Trumpsters
Yeah.
Yeah.
or
Well,
Trumpites.
yeah, not all of us are Trump fans, but there are some.
The
and
semi-fascists.
okay, I'm a semi-fascist, you see. So I'm
Yeah.
not particularly I'm not okay, I know that I say this because I just want to be clear. I'm much more on the left than anyone really here. But the thing is that I want there to be a dialogue, right? So that's why I talk to people who I don't agree with. Isn't that amazing?
You know, it's really not that hard to do.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
No, you just have to believe that people who disagree with you or like political positions that you don't are actual human beings and probably have reasonable reasons for believing and thinking the way that they do.
Well, not always, but
not always, but
they
mostly.
have to have some kind of reason.
Yeah.
It might not be reasonable, but they probably have a reason.
Yes. Okay.
Right?
Let's get into are we going to
Okay.
do the trailer or
Do you want me to do the video you sent me or the trailer? Maybe let's do the video, the audio clip that you sent me first, because it kind of like
it's short.
it gives
it's
an
short.
it's
Let's see
short
how far we get through it. 'Cause
and
we
it
can
gives
always
an
do another one
overview.
of these Rantzerker.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah. No, it's like 2 minutes long, maybe even less.
Oh, so that'll take like probably another 3.5
she's crazy.
hours.
Yeah, exactly. So let's so it start off and it's somebody saying, well, she's crazy.
Dragon lady
Sluts.
BITCH. The D word, a diva.
So aggressive.
These are words you hear a lot in the media, online, in people's homes. They're thrown around casually.
Who does she think she is? Crazy. An ungrateful bitch.
just wants attention.
A labeled
A
angry
woman
red
who
woman.
is beautiful and
It's time to cut through the noise.
Mumbling, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically this is the intro, and it sounds like it's all essentially like about the evil of judgmental language. And I swear, when I was listening to it, I was like, this is probably all shit that she's actually been told by other women, most likely.
I want to say a few things. One, it sounds like the woman who says the word sluts is Karen. Did you pick that up? I think they sound sampled you, Karen.
You really think that? I can go back and we could listen for it again. It's
Just listen to the word sluts. It's in the beginning.
All right, I'll go back a bit and just remember, there's the audio as it sounds. That's not me. That's just like she's just overlapping a bunch of different sound bites. So, all right, here we go. It should be starting now.
Well, she's crazy.
Dragon lady
Sluts.
BITCH.
Oh yeah, that does sound like it could be.
Okay, it's not me.
I mean,
not you.
No, it sounds like it could be cut from
be.
one of your very old videos when, the sound quality wasn't as good as it is now because the technology wasn't there. And you did a whole video about, didn't you do?
For me is still not here.
Yeah. Didn't you do a video about slut shaming or something like that?
I might have done a video about slut shaming, but like I don't have any problem with sluts. I'm perfectly fine with honest sluts.
Yeah.
Just be honest.
Yeah, no, I'm with that. I don't care. Just don't try to don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining.
Yeah.
So
D word, a diva.
So aggressive. These are words you hear a lot in the media, online, in people's homes. They're thrown around casually.
Who does she think she is? Crazy. An ungrateful bitch.
just wants attention.
A labeled
a
angry
woman
red
who
woman.
is beautiful and
It's time to cut through the noise.
I love how
We're
one
going
of
to get to
things
the
is
roots of these
she's
words.
Beautiful. She's
The
or something,
word
and I'm like,
bitch
oh,
came
God,
out
you're such
of
a
this
narcissist.
Greek insult that meant women were dogs in heat begging for men.
Are you having trouble pausing it there, Brian?
no, did you want me to pause it?
Yeah, I was because we were talking. Because if you listen to it, some of it is like, oh, she gets so many views on her podcast, and or also she gets so many views on YouTube, and she's so beautiful. I'm like, you're complaining about people saying that to you? That's really, really interesting. Like, seriously.
Well, honestly, if Meghan Markle doesn't want to be considered beautiful, she could just go around looking like me. Just like have your 20-year-old son cut your hair for you, and wear a 3-year-old tank top. Like I don't understand, and no makeup. I don't understand. Like, she goes out of her way. Like, this is what drives me crazy. When women go out of their way and they will spend hours a day, right, taking care of their appearance, right, keeping themselves up, wrinkle cream, and lightening the dark circles under their eyes, and all of those things, putting on makeup and picking out outfits and all of that stuff, right? And then you dare to actually call them beautiful, and it's like, now you're just treating me like an object. And it's like, well,
do you want your work recognized or not?
Well, it's like if I painted a beautiful picture, right? If I painted a beautiful picture and hung it on my wall, I would want people to go, "Oh, how beautiful is that? That's amazing," right? So if I paint a beautiful picture on my face and sculpt a beautiful thing out of my hair and put together a beautiful presentation of, it's like if I made a cake that looked like, if I was Meghan Markle and I made a realistic cake that looked like Meghan Markle, and someone said, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful," right? Oh, and it tastes great, like it's the best thing ever, right? And you're just saying that because you treat me like an object. And it's like, no, they're just admiring your artistry. Jesus Christ.
just let it. Yeah.
Like, if you don't want people to think that, just go around looking like the queen. I have old dollar bills, singles, right, from back when Canada had single dollar bills, right, with the Queen's face on them. I think the Queen's face was on them. And I'm like, did nobody think to like comb her eyebrows? Like, she's literally got bed eyebrows in that portrait that they used on our money. And I'm like, probably because she had better things to do than comb her eyebrows.
Well, I've noticed that, for example, Princess seems to be very, Eugenie seems to be very beloved by the UK, but when I look at her, she doesn't seem to do as much.
Yeah, no, like a lot of them, Fergie, very frumpy, Eugenie, a little bit frumpy. Camilla Parker Bowles, like total horse face, right? But I think that the Britain is fond of her.
Yeah,
because she's quite the character. She's a real card, right?
And Eugenie's very down to earth, right?
Yeah, well, when Camilla Parker, legend has it that when Camilla met Charles at a party, she said, rumor has it that my mother shagged your dad. So should we repeat history or something like that? Right? like that. She literally propositioned him the first day they met, right? And and everybody kind of views Charles and Camilla as like sort of unrequited love that was finally requited, right? And so the underdog story, sort of the star-crossed lovers story. And even though she's just a little bit of she's not very attractive, and by the time they were able to actually get together, they were both old, Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, aside from that, like, okay, where was I getting? The thing is that she's making herself out to be a victim of things that are complimentary. And there was something that I said once that I think is very apt here. She is a woman who can turn any victory into victimhood.
Oh man, there's this comedian on YouTube called Kavon, K-VON. And he has a bit of stand-up on the channel called Dry Bar Comedy, I think. But I think he has it up on his channel, and he's like, okay, I'll accept that a trans woman is a real woman if you can do the following things, right? Then you will convince me. Can you turn a compliment into an argument? Right? Can you turn a compliment into an argument? Right? If you can't do that, you're not a real woman. And so,
it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think we better reel Brian back in because we might be losing him.
Yeah, no, he's surfing Reddit on his phone.
Yeah, he's
I don't
listening to Joe Rogan to ask about finding out whether the shark will win or the gorilla.
Joke's on you. I wasn't on Reddit. I don't use that cancer. I was on Telegram. Okay. I was looking in there's a men's group in Telegram. I get bombarded with messages, so. All right. So shall we continue?
Right. Well, I do have some thank yous to give.
Oh, good.
And also, we did get some super chats. I don't know if we got any super chats.
No, I'm looking.
If you want to send us a message, sans censorship, and we get me, Brian, and Hannah and HBR get the full force of the funds, as it were, go to feedthebadger.com/just-the-tip, and I will read through them. Okay, Anonymous gives us $50 and says, to keep the lights on. Thank you, Anonymous.
Wow.
Amasong gives us $5 and says, so bitch is meant to compare women to female dogs in heat because they lust after men. You mean like pick-me's? Smiley face. Okay, I was going to go there. I was going to totally go there. I'm like listening to this. I'm like, okay, handmaiden of the patriarchy.
Yep.
Pick-me's. What else do they call us? Cool girls.
Attention whores.
Chill girls.
Yeah, well, that attention whore is now like, I guess they're reclaiming that. You know, in 50 years, they're going to be reclaiming pick me too. That was patriarchy.
I'm a pick me, and this is why it's a good thing.
I'm a pick me, and I'm not apologizing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm like thinking, you guys throw this stuff, and the new one is the fans of or not even the fans, but the women who watched the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial and actually realized that Johnny Depp was the abused party. They call them Deptford wives.
Oh God.
Deptford wives, really?
Well, it's clever. It's clever.
It is clever.
You got to give them that, but it's and actually I think it's clever enough that the Deptford wives are just like, yeah, we'll take that. Yoink.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll own that label. That'll be ours now. Thank you. But yeah, it was I'm like listening to this. I'm like, how much of this stuff do you throw at us, at women you don't agree with? Grifters. Like, I don't know how many times I've been called a grifter. And honestly, the first time I was called a grifter, I was like, what does that even mean?
It's a useless insult.
It's like, well, they only seem to use it for female men's rights activists, right? Or female men's issues advocates.
Yeah.
Especially if they're able to actually make a modest living at creating product related to these issues. Like, the living comes from the streams, the shorts, the videos, the events, that kind of thing. It doesn't come just from, advocacy. But anyway, and I actually have learned that feminist women and they are always feminist non-governmental organizations dealing with DV or sexual assault. They make on average $1,000 an hour for their advocacy. $1,000 an hour for their advocacy. Like, I'm like looking at their financials.
Yeah.
And for example, there's one NGO that puts on a hour-and-a-half webinar once a month, has a mailing list for congressional alerts, puts out pamphlets that they haven't updated since for 2 decades, and also does referrals to plastic surgeons for abused women with disfiguring injuries, which I probably is, and for that amount of work, which I don't even think is 40 hours a week, it's probably more like 10. I mean, if I was doing it, that would be like 2 hours or 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
But regardless, they're making, or the salary that they give themselves, $650,000 a year.
Oh my God.
650,000. That doesn't include the beanies, like, trips, hospitality, the office that they get to have,
The per diem when they go on the trips.
it is not like a cheap office building in the middle of bum screw Saskatchewan. We're talking about like a Manhattan office building,
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my, and at the time that I was being called a grifter, I was doing 70, 80 hours of work a week because I was managing Honey Badger Radio, the community, all of the other stuff, and doing this stupid lawsuit.
Yeah.
And it was, and they were calling me a grifter, and I'm like making like 1/4 what this woman is making, or actually not even, not even close. So and I'm like, yeah, I think your idea of grifter is skewed, or no, it isn't. It's projection. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a rant that's a long time coming, because I actually am upset with myself that I ever got hurt by being called a grifter.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's a meaningless insult because
well, not okay. These feminist NGOs, they are not frauds because they are public with everything.
Sure.
But boy, howdy, is that a fantastically paying job?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get paid twice as much as a New York lawyer.
Yeah.
How can you just okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
This is a tangent.
Did you finish the thank yous?
Oh right. I'm over caffeinated, guys.
Did you
so
start
I'm
the
particularly
thank yous?
squirrely today.
Okay.
Amasong, yes, I did. Oh no, I did not finish the thank yous. First of all, I want to do a shout out to Hunzi because he started this fundraiser off with $100. Thank you, Hunzi.
Nice.
And then Eric. Okay, actually no. Hyper Chicken put in $250. So thank you, Hyper Chicken.
Thank you, Hyper Chicken.
Yeah. And I just want to do a shout out to Eric the Red, who has started up 3 different subscriptions. I think you might have oversubscribed here because you maybe are having a little bit of trouble with the subscription thing. But thank you for subscribing. He did $50 a month for Honey Badger Radio, $15 a month for Karen.
Wow.
Which is that stuff that I send you every couple months, by the way.
Yeah.
And $15 a month to Dr. Randommer Cam.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be very happy to hear that. And Eric the Dead also puts through $500 to the fundraiser.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
Nice.
You might want to check that all of your subscriptions are in order if you are listening, though, because it seems like you've done, because it's the 3 subscriptions, one to HBR, one to Karen, one to Mike, makes sense, but then he doubled the subscription to you, Karen, and me, so there's like 4.
Oh.
2 to HBR, 2 to you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, you might want to look into that. Make sure that your subscriptions are correct.
Yeah.
And I do hope that Eric the Dead is not your proper name.
Yeah. Well, regardless, I don't want to double bill anyone. So
yeah.
go check that and make sure that you're good.
Okay. And so that's the end to the thank yous. Thank you very much. So we're at we started the day at 0 and now we're at $850.
Woo!
And yeah. And that's very much appreciated. We got another about 3,500 to go. And hopefully we'll keep this pace up and get there. And if you would like to join our very generous supporters, once again, it's feedthebadger.com/badger-media-blitz. And every bit helps. So if you're just like, oh, I got $5, that's great. Like, it's really the thought that matters. Just taking the time to go there and help out. And if you can't help out that way, you could always consider becoming a beta reader for my new story, but that's a little more complicated.
Or you could just share the video on social media.
Share the
Yes,
video
yes.
is a big, it's a very helpful. If you could do
Share
it
it,
now,
like-
that would be great.
Like, share, subscribe, comment, all of those things. So
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall
All
I
right. So
continue?
let's listen to some more of this.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Oh,
And
bloviate.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
understand why they persist.
You know, the fix is in. It's by design. It's a way of keeping women in their place.
Along the way, we're laughing.
I love it. I wish I could take my own advice too. I can.
My advice is great. I can't take it, but
It's great. If only I could listen to
Yes,
my.
you can take your own advice.
Yeah.
Also, that laughter is extremely disturbing. It makes me want to look behind my shoulder and make sure that there are no, evil clowns.
Bloody Mary
lurking in the
isn't
corners of my
standing
room.
there. Yeah.
It hasn't come out of the sewer.
Well, okay, all I gotta say is, this idea that the archetypes exist, were just concocted out of thin air for a purpose, as opposed to, because like I've said multiple times in the past, there's never been a time in history where women were only hearing good things about men, right? There was always the archetype of the sexual deviant, the rapist, the abuser, right? The angry, aggressive man, the criminal,
Man-child.
the thug, all of those things, right? All of those archetypes exist, right? Even among fictional heroes, there's usually some kind of line that a hero walks between a dark side of himself, violence, aggression, all of those things, and then the other side of himself, which is virtuous and dutiful and all of that, all the way back to the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? And you see every single negative archetype of masculinity transition into its positive counterpart, right? Its positive version, where Gilgamesh goes from being he's strong but he doesn't care, to being strong
and noble or honorable
and dutiful, and and almost like a caretaker, a strong caretaker, as opposed to a strong person who doesn't care who he harms, right? And so you see all of these archetypes of masculinity, with positive versions and negative versions, right? So you look at even the angry woman archetype, right? Well, when anger is called for, right, the angry woman archetype can be noble and virtuous and a sign of strength, because when anger is called for,
like on our show,
when you need to stick up for yourself, right, go ahead and get angry, right, get yourself worked up, and
the Greeks, they used to have the vestige of the Gorgon on their shields as a way of striking fear into the hearts of the enemy. So I mean, the Gorgon had that dual purpose. Like, she was a sort of an evil evil force, or a destructive force, but then she was also a protective force. Are you okay, Karen?
just preparing for the man to walk
I see
behind the camera.
Thank you for doing that. It's very thoughtful.
We're about to be camera bombed. Another one was Shiva, I think.
Oh yeah, no, she was like the goddess of death or something in Hindu.
Yeah, and she's also like she's simultaneously
Kali.
like a destructive goddess, but also protective.
I'm sorry, I got that wrong.
There's all of these archetypes that the phoenix rising from the ashes, right? Destruction and creation in out of one being, right? All of these things, right? Like these are these like eternal themes in human cultures. And there is a different way that we, like the temptress, right? Okay, the temptress, well, we're not allowed to call women temptresses anymore. If they actually wear an abbreviated latex dress and stripper heels down the sidewalk, on their way to, the convenience store, we're supposed to just pretend that she's not there and doesn't want anyone to look at her. And
that's actually old, though. I mean, they were like, there was a writer from the UK who went to the States, and he described how the American character in like the 1890s is that if a woman was walking naked down a street, everybody is supposed to just pretend it's not happening.
Yeah, just look away, right? And well, but then you have other things. Like there was this one video that was put up of a bunch of naked men marching down the street, right? Wearing like socks and boots, right? But otherwise naked, marching down the street, and they'd just join in, full frontal nudity, and they're like, ta-da, 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 chanting some kind of jaunty military march, right? And everybody notices them because they look ridiculous. They don't look threatening, they just look ridiculous, right? Whereas a woman walking naked down the street, you think two things, right? One, look away, or two, right? Lady Godiva, right? The entire town looked away because they did not want her to feel shame, right? Or she's a victim who needs help, because that's the only reason why a woman would be out in public buck naked is if she's, a victim of rape and she escaped her rapist or whatever and ran out into the street to get help. But like you look at the archetypes throughout history, there are different ones for men and women. That is actually because the characters of men and women, right, their personalities, their temperaments, all of those things differ, right? Those sex differences are not going away. They actually, like Jordan Peterson, brings us up all the time. Well, in the countries that have made gender equality the primary purpose of the law, you have a situation where gender differences in personality and temperament are bigger, not smaller, right, than in places like Iran and Afghanistan and other places like that.
Can I just make a counterpoint to that? Okay, I'll let you finish, but I want to make a counterpoint to that.
But so you have a situation where these differences, and yes, you have maybe 15-17% of women who are more masculine than feminine, and 15-17% of men who are more feminine than masculine. That's fine too, but in bulk, right, in general, generalities exist, and those are deeply entrenched, not just culturally. It's a feedback loop between biology and culture, right? And so the more free you make people to be their true selves, the more these differences tend to come out. And one of those archetypes is women are complainers. And here we are doing this.
But
picking apart this very complainy podcast.
But the reason why women complain is because men want to fix it and shut them up.
Well, no, the reason why women complain is because women didn't evolve as women. They evolved as the mother-child dyad, right? And so when a woman is uncomfortable, when it's cold or chilly or too hot or there's danger, things aren't really nice, they're hungry.
Hate those drapes,
things, right?
Yeah.
Well, their babies are, a woman is just as capable of surviving heat, extremes of heat and cold as men are, right? They don't, there's no difference in their ability to survive those extremes. The difference is in what their comfort threshold is for those things. And that's because baby can't survive those things, right? And because of the proximity between mother and child, that's like an alarm system. That's like an early warning system. Go check on the baby, make sure he's not too hot, make sure he's not too cold, make sure he's not too hungry, all of those things. And then, yes, complain to the man, cut some damn firewood, turn down the AC, whatever you have to do, right? Do it. Go out and bring food, whatever you have to do, because if I'm hungry, the baby's hungry. If I'm too cold, the baby's too cold. If I'm too hot, the baby's too hot, right? Man, fix it.
Okay. Counterpoints. All right. To consider. Right. The first counterpoint I was going to give is there is actually a type of gender dichotomy that's pushed in the West that didn't exist in the past and doesn't exist around the world. And that is the differential in perceiving men versus women's agency. And the West is sort of unique that way.
Oh yeah, no, that's why you can't call a woman a temptress. You can't say that women are ever cock teases. You can't say that a woman maybe might have contributed to the sequence of events that led to her being sexually assaulted. You can't say any of that, right? That's just for the first world.
And
all through history, women have been perceived as having agency.
Now, and there's reasons for it, which I think will tie into my second counterpoint. So there is something that's happened. We're not just the West isn't constructing a gender neutral utopia. In fact, we have constructed our own very strict form of gender roles based around perceptions of agency.
Gender apartheid.
We do not perceive women's agency to the same degree as we did 60 years ago or around the world outside of Western nations. So we see women as being agency-less. We see them as being victims. They're see objects. Them as basically as valuable objects. And the more that we insist on doing things like, if you're a woman, you can't say that a woman is an asshole, because that is applying the archetype of asshole upon her. So instead of seeing the consequences of her actions as negative on other people, what you see is the consequence of calling her out for those negative actions as negative on her, which is that is leaving women with there's no perception of women's agency. So there is a gender role that the West pursues. So I wouldn't say that when you get rid of gender roles, this happens, because we are actually forcing something social, because I don't think it's that normal for everyone to just suddenly decide not to view women as having agency.
Well, I think that women, when you go back and you look at Mike Stevenson's, Dr. Rantzerker's video on gynocentrism and patriarchy and how they are one and the same thing, there is a certain limitation that cultures always place on women's agency, right? So all around the world, yes, women are held accountable, right? But they are required to exist within certain constraints that men are required to exist outside of, right? So you have gynocentrism, which is the women and the children in the center of the village, and then you have the ring of adolescent boys and young men with spears in circumventing that village and guarding it, and then you have the men who go out and hunt and do all of those things, right? And that's how, and yes, women are expected to behave in certain ways, and they're held accountable when they don't.
So they see
Those
they
that-
perceive their actions, the effect of their actions on the community.
yes, and
on
they
the men and on the
also
other women.
they also have different expectations of men and women, right? So it's like women just don't endanger the men who have to protect you. Don't go out of your way. It's like Key and Peele's Fighting Megan's Battles skit, right? Where, you know, she just picks fights with random people on the street, and then her boyfriend gets beat up because, you know, she's like, they're like, what'd your bitch say to me? You know, like, and then she just looks at him and goes, you know, and then he's got to stick up for her, and then gets shit kicked out of him.
Oh, freaking
right?
irresponsible. And the other counterpoint I wanted to make was that part of the reason why I think around the world and in the past women's agency was better understood and perceived is because if we hadn't, we wouldn't have survived as a species. And not just because women can be incredibly destructive, but also because they needed women to perform their role or people didn't survive.
That's right. That's right.
Because
And
you need the gatherers and the hunter-gatherer tribe, because the gatherers are responsible for providing food that is necessary when you don't have the meat. You know, they're responsible for processing the meat into something that will keep you alive during the winter. They're in peasant societies, they're responsible for often the only medicine you'll have access to, the only heating, the only lighting, the only clothing, the only water, the only shelter, the only food in winter, you know, the when things need to be planted, so that all the wise woman knowledge and stuff, you know. So in peasant societies, like, women are effectively making most of the decisions, and they need to make them well or people don't survive. But there's sort of a polite fiction that the men are in charge, but it works because both sides think that the other side doesn't know the reality. But it's like so women's agency was absolutely critical in the past, or we wouldn't have survived, or perceiving it. And now we're in this sort of little bubble where we are trying desperately to figure out how far we can dig down into this, like, scrape the bottom of the barrel of not perceiving women's agency. And you know, Meghan Markle is a prime example of that. We're going to see how low we can go, how much we can just completely ignore women as individual moral agents in favor of seeing them as valuable objects.
All right. Did I hit play?
Yeah. Brian's like, let's move on. Let's get a move on.
Self. We're learning.
The word hysteria comes from the Greek word for womb, and there's no way that a person who had a womb, you know, like, came up with this definition.
Anyone want to say anything about that? Hysteria?
Well, what they found was that women were a little bit less emotionally stable than men, and tended to flip their shit a little bit more.
How is this different
get
than
overwrought? It's like, okay, so
do you remember testosterone poisoning, Karen?
Oh God, I know, eh?
Yeah, that sort of faded in popularity, didn't it? But for a while there in like the 90s, it was like testosterone poisoning, testosterone poisoning, testosterone poisoning. Oh, it's all testosterone poisoning. It's like, well, what do you think that is?
Yeah, I know, eh?
It is blaming male behavior, not even male behavior that you think, because hysteria often isn't seen as harmful to others, but harmful to the woman.
Yeah.
But testosterone poisoning is blaming male behavior that you think is harmful to others on men's reproductive system.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, no, and it's like, and here's the thing too, right? There is something to be said for women's reproductive system generating this set of personality traits, right? Sensitivity, apprehension, you know, upsetability, I guess, right?
Mhm.
That is actually very much hormone driven.
Mhm.
You know, and you can't say hysteria is sexist, but
You can
women
appeal to your monthly
women need 3 days off a month of period leave.
For mental health and so that they don't snap at their coworkers.
Yeah. And they should also, you know, be president of the United States and have the nuclear codes. Like, really?
Yeah. Like, you can't have it both ways.
Infanticide is a special crime with a lower penalty because women are hormonal after giving birth, and therefore they are not in control of their actions, right? You cannot have it both ways, right? But they do, right? Because you know, there's no archetype about women wanting to have things both ways. That's not a oh wait, it is an archetype. But you look at it and it's like testosterone is actually it's actually been maligned. If you want to actually cure hysteria in a woman or whatever, you know, or like help level her mood, and I think that actually there's a lot going on right now that could actually be, when you look at depression and anxiety and all of those things, right?
Estrogen dominant,
yeah. Maybe there are a bunch of women and some low testosterone men who could like just slap a patch on that, and they'd gain body confidence, they'd gain emotional confidence, it would level their moods, it would make them less anxious and depressed. You know, like it's because there is a dearth of testosterone. Testosterone levels are among 25-year-old men today they would be considered healthy testosterone among 80-year-old men in 1970. And women, you know, like, well, we're surrounded by phytoestrogens and environmental estrogens and endocrine disruptors in our environment that basically make us fill us full of estrogen. So, you know, like I would never drink plastic bottles full of water, ladies, if you want a healthy hormone balance. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't wear a lot of cosmetics if you want a healthy hormone balance. I wouldn't slather moisturizer all over myself if I wanted it every day, if I wanted a healthy hormone balance. You know, like maybe a lot of this stuff could be
reduced,
to, like, but testosterone is maligned. It's been slandered.
It is.
There is no link between serum testosterone levels and aggression. No recognizable link ever found in the literature that says if you have more testosterone, you're going to be more aggressive.
I just want to add to that. Now this may not be reflecting in like serum testosterone, but they found that humans actually have an unusually large or high concentration of testosterone relative to other great apes.
Well, because most other great apes are not they have a reproductive model that's basically the reproductive model is, for most great apes, is dominant male, harem of females, not a whole lot of competition between males for mates, because you have a dominant male and all of the other males are squeezed out. Just like gorillas, right? You know, the size of their testes compared to their bodies is like something like yeah, well, something like 1/20th. And yes, sperm competition among chimpanzees, because all of the males are related to each other. That's probably the only reason why they have dominant males and subordinate males that are willing to live in the same group is because they're all related.
They're all related to each other. Well, what I think it is that testosterone tends to make people more mellow and cooperative.
Yeah, fairness in bargaining.
Yeah, and our entire societies are based, like, I know people, when I say this, people are like, oh, you're such a utopian. But the reason why we have a society is because we are unusually capable of trusting each other and cooperating with each other. I don't know why people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Because like we swim in a sea of trust. And that's
no,
not
like,
utopian.
It's like what Jordan Peterson said to, like, he was in an auditorium or something, and he's like, do any of you even understand what a miracle it is that there are 1,500 strangers sitting in this auditorium and you're not killing each other?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually a miracle. Like, that is something special in the animal kingdom that does not happen anywhere else.
Yeah, because usually if you get that many animals, if they're not like socialized by us in a small space, they are immediately thinking, well, where are my resources coming from? Where's my
or if they don't know each other.
Yeah.
And they can only really, like, they're even apes are, as intelligent as they are, I think they're constrained by Dunbar's number. Where they have to be able to track relationships and actually know and remember each individual.
Whereas we thinking, that's the irony. We have stereotypes. We have such condemnation for stereotypes and archetypes, when that the use of archetypes allows us to actually be calm and friendly and trusting towards strangers.
Yep.
Because we generalize, and most often when we generalize, we're generalizing positively, not negatively. I mean, people constantly talk about sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, but generally most people generalize in a positive way. We walk out, you generalize the strangers coming towards you as, well, they're probably not going to attack me. It probably doesn't even cross your mind unless you're a paranoid woman.
Yeah.
Been convinced
a hysterical woman.
Who's been convinced by flawed statistics that you're actually not safe. But anyway, we probably should get back. I could see Brian's wandering away from this. So
no, I just wanted to tell you guys about testosterone poisoning, because I think it's interesting. So, according to Wikipedia, testosterone poisoning is a popular term used to explain behaviors that are deemed excessively masculine. Now, what I thought was interesting is the origins of this, because this is like, it sounds like it's something like the Bechdel test, where someone said it once and feminists basically just made it into an official scientific term that actually means something important. So as an early printed reference to testosterone poisoning came in 1975 from actor Alan Alda. In a parody of a self-help writing, Alda diagnosed the ailment of masculinity and offered methods for its cure. He wrote, "Everybody knows that testosterone, the so-called male hormone, is found in both men and women. What is not so well known is that men have an overdose. Until recently, it has been thought that the level of testosterone in men is normal simply because they have it. But if you consider how abnormal their behavior is, then you are led to the hypothesis that almost all men are suffering from testosterone poisoning."
God, Alda. Ugh.
Oh, he was such a feminist.
Like, he's excruciating. It's like, what the hell? And the other thing is, well, I guess now that 25-year-old men have the testosterone of an 80-year-old, 50 years ago.
Yeah, that explains Antifa. But
Zing.
Okay, God. But like you look at it. Okay, so they've done studies on testosterone, and they found that a little bit of extra testosterone promotes fairness in bargaining. A little bit of extra testosterone reduces the telling of self-serving lies. A little bit of extra testosterone boosts body confidence, levels mood, and kind of shifts people's, how people process the unknown, right? Or the potentially dangerous, from apprehension and anxiety to vigilance.
So it makes you more like open to some risk.
Yeah, and it reduces risk, risk aversion. And then on top of that, they found that this operates in women as well in these ways. But one of the most interesting experiments that they did was they gave a bunch of people, men and women, a placebo patch or pill or something, and said that it was said it was either a placebo or testosterone. Told them, right, that it was testosterone and or a placebo, and the people who believed, or they asked them, do you think you got the placebo or do you think you got testosterone? And the ones that particularly among women, the ones who believed that they had testosterone, whether that was the case or not, behaved more aggressively, right? So it's clear that these women believed that if they took testosterone, they would behave more aggressively, and that actually made them behave more aggressively.
Yeah, well, and it ultimately, like we're saying, basically what we're saying is that this idea of testosterone poisoning is pretty much the same as hysteria, except
there's actually a scientific basis for hysteria.
Yeah, there actually is, which is women's higher degree of risk intolerance.
Oh, don't even get me started on estradiol, which is they discovered this in studies of birds, right? That male birds, the aggression hormone in male birds, it's derived from testosterone, right? But it's actually converted in their metabolism into a female hormone, and that's what makes them aggressive, is the estradiol, right? They need the testosterone to convert into estradiol, but depending, it like there's no hard and fast rule as to how much of their testosterone gets converted and how aggressive that they become based on their testosterone levels. So it's like, so it's literally like maybe it's a female hormone that's making people aggressive. And if you want to see aggression, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, but I mean, like any dog owner could tell you, like there is a thing called fear aggression in dogs, and it's actually the most dangerous form of aggression is when your dog is scared. That's when they're going to bite. If you go and you look at, and I'm just going to point people to that vape store incident from years ago when the guy in the Trump t-shirt and the MAGA hat goes into a vape store to buy some vape juice for his wife, and the guy behind the counter flips his shit.
Yeah,
right.
I remember that.
Yeah, and you look at those two men, and the guy who's the customer, who's being totally calm, polite, right, and all of this, not scared at all, and then you got this man behind the counter who is as doughy as they come, right? Just like he looks like your quintessential low testosterone, doughy freaking soy drinker, okay? And he's just flipping his shit. He's being extremely aggressive, and I'm like, well, that's because he's scared, because he's low testosterone. Everything about him screams not enough testosterone in your system. Right? So, I'm just like,
well, but what's interesting to me, like when I was saying that, is human women, and I don't know if this is true anymore, we actually have more serum testosterone. I believe we have more serum testosterone, or not serum, but testosterone in the urine, it might be, than like a silverback gorilla.
Oh yeah, probably, because silverback gorillas only have to defend their turf.
Yeah, Yeah, and
Very seldom.
But
right?
what's critical about humans is that we have to have a much higher risk tolerance because we're constantly packed in with each other and hanging around each other, and we need to be able to be just sort of calm and trusting, and that seems to come out of testosterone. I mean, no offense, but yeah, that's it is a thing. And hysteria, like there is some reason, like if you're gonna use your period or postpartum depression or other aspects of your hormonal system to excuse behavior that is beyond the pale, or behavior that's upsetting to others, or behavior that is damaging to other human beings, don't complain about hysteria, because that's essentially what you're doing. You're essentially saying, well, women get hysterical, so what can you do?
Yeah.
You know, you got to deal with the fact that, you know, I'm on the rag and I'm pissed. I'm being an aggressive asshole.
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like, if you're going to do that, then you accept the whole hysteria narrative.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's listen to a bit more.
All right.
Okay. I'm just before we start, I'm turning my camera off and I'm turning my microphone off, but I will still listen because I got to get my husband something to eat, or he's gonna get hysterical.
All right.
All right. That's
maybe,
fine. Go
very, very, very aggressive.
Well, I have a super chat, so I guess
and
I'll
I have
just
super
read
chats.
that.
Yeah, we could go through them.
Go ahead, Karen. All right, so Meredith G gives us $5 and says, "Honey for the Badgers." Thank you, Meredith. And what are the chows and
super
things?
chows? Okay, just give me a second. Hothead Studios gives us $10, but with no message, so thank you, Hothead Studios. Anonymous gives us $5 and says, as to the idea that negative stereotypes are a conspiracy, one of the key signs of schizophrenic delusions is their unfalsibility. It's not even possible to really falsify the possibility that men created stereotypes to plot against women, a group they both have to obviously tyrannize, yet plot against in the shadows, least they see it. Yeah, that's funny. It's like this sort of ties into what I've said for many, many years now. You know, for something that controls all of society, patriarchy doesn't leave much of a paper trail.
No.
Like feminism has an enormous paper trail, and you could honestly argue. Now, I know there are other places that talk about men's issues, and I know there are other channels and groups and podcasts that may talk about men's rights. But I believe, and I may be wrong, but I believe that Honey Badger Radio is the one place where we advocate for bringing men into the conversation about who society should be caring about and ensuring that they have the benefit they need to continue to, you know, thrive and exist and be what not just what they need to be, but be what they want to be, you know, to be able to do what they want. And I'm pretty sure that Honey Badger Radio's paper trail is absolutely dwarfed, you know, just dwarfed by the tsunami of paper trail coming out of like feminist NGOs that control the dialogue on domestic violence and sexual assault and have money coming in from the government, from private donors, from all kinds of places, you know. And so like we're it. I mean, we're about the closest you get. Like Honey Badger Radio is about the closest you get to actual patriarchy, I believe.
We're also, I think, the only men's issues oriented group that actually also brings women into the conversation. Which means that they get, you know, like we try to help them understand why this would be good for them, but also we don't have a problem holding women accountable and understanding that women can be bad actors and they can do destructive things and all of that. And I think that's really important, because if you know, if someone like just wants to hear the nice thing about how society would be better if we did these things for men, that's fine, but it's also very easy to do, because you can just say, yeah, I care about that. But if you also say, but wait, here are all the ways that women can do harm, not just to men, but, you know, to their families, to their children, to society in general. Here are all the ways that they can be, you know, adding to this problem. And that there is a difference between a good woman and a not so good woman. Because if you can't point out that contrast, if you can't say this is a good, honorable woman and this is not a good woman, if you are not allowed to say that because we're not allowed to say hurtful things about women, then you're basically saying that there shouldn't be a difference between a bad woman and a good woman. And if there is no difference between them, then there is no incentive for good women to be good. Because now you've basically said that it doesn't exist. Because all women are victims, right? And when you just play into the line that women are all victims, then anything noble they might do is overshadowed. Yeah, it's basically erased. So, you know, like, what does it mean to be a good woman? And I think that that's a good question to ask. And I think it's something that men and women, you know, should be able to recognize, so that well, I mean, maybe I'm getting a little too out of line there.
When you don't see the difference between a woman who is engaging in positive behaviors versus a woman who's engaging in negative behaviors, then you are completely erasing women's individuality.
Yeah.
Like, just gone. And you've replaced women with individuals making individual moral choices, which is an aspect of their individuality. And you've replaced them with what? You've replaced them with people who you only value for being female.
Yeah, you're making them into representatives or avatars of, like, the notion of woman instead of like individual women. Yes, it is. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
You're essentially making women into objects.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't say, okay, these are the behaviors that are bad, that make this woman, you know, these are bad behaviors, and these are good. So this is a positive. This is a woman who's contributing positively. This is a woman who's contributing negatively through her individual choices.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you don't recognize that, then what are you doing? Like, you're essentially not seeing women as individuals. You're just seeing them as valuable objects.
Yeah, they represent. This is why, like, whenever a woman that they want to celebrate is uplifted, it's not really about her individual achievements, because, like, a woman who's actually achieved something, those things likely can't be achieved by most women. That's why that's why we see it as exceptional. But because they're ultimately against meritocracy, they're just going to say, what this woman did, she did in the name of women everywhere. So now her achievement is all of our achievements. And what does that mean? Well, it means that her achievement doesn't really matter to them. Only, like, her ability to essentially
reflect on all women.
Yeah, it reflects on all women. So, and of course, this is why they forgive when, you know, or just ignore when women misbehave, because they don't want to apply that to all women, but they want, it's like, you know, they want to have their cake and eat it too. So, all right. Anyway,
women want it both ways. I
know it's a wild concept.
Realize that was an archetype.
I had no idea.
Yeah, but one thing that I wanted to add, because I was just kind of listening, what makes a good woman? What makes a good man? I mean, okay, so there's this thing called the masculine norms inventory, I believe, and Mahalik is the researcher who did the most recent one that the American Psychological Association is using, and he set up basically focus groups full of grad students who were like, okay, so what's a masculine norm? And what they actually decided to do was, if you threw out something like breadwinner or faithful partner or something like that, right? If there were women who said, well, I feel pressure to be a breadwinner, or I feel pressure to be a faithful partner, right? That could not go on the masculine norms list. So all they were left with, really, by the end of their focus groups and their, you know, and all of that, was basically a list of negative stereotypes about men, aka toxic masculinity. But those are the only masculine norms, even though men are obviously under much more pressure to be breadwinners than women. Men are just as shamed for being, or even more now these days, he's a dog if he cheats, right? She probably had a good reason because he just wasn't like emotionally available or whatever. He didn't treat her right, so she's got an excuse. But so they basically, any positive trait that could also apply to an expectation placed on women was gone from that list. It was that's not a masculine norm. So all of these things, right? Being courageous, being diligent, being responsible, right? All of these things that we expect of men, in many cases more than we expect of women, they're no longer considered masculine norms by the American Psychological Association.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's get back
what
to
makes a good woman and what makes a good man, often they're the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
all right, let's play some more. I think let's play some more.
We are reclaiming our own identities.
Vibrant.
Content.
I'm very cross.
Unencumbered.
Gregarious.
Sensitive and emotional.
And loving.
Wait, she said sensitive and emotional? So these women are taking back the words.
Their identity.
Yes, they're like, this is
Their
mine.
identity as sensitive and emotional, but not hysterical.
Not hysterical. Yeah, exactly.
I just don't understand this. Like, what it sounds like you're taking back what? Okay,
they're
so
reclaiming the archetypes, Allison.
They're reclaiming the archetype of being a bitch and a diva and
sensitive and emotional
and aggressive. And so what they're saying is that they're going to be all of these negative traits. They're going to have a negative impact on people. And when they have that negative impact on people and that people are like, yeah, but you're being a bitch, they're going to be like, no, you can't do that because
I'm being a strong, independent woman.
I'm just
you
being
applying
crass.
the label.
Yeah.
You applying the archetype of bitch to me is oppressive. So I can do whatever I want to you, but you can't call it out because that would be the real oppression.
Yeah, no, she can call herself a bitch all she wants.
Yeah.
But don't you dare call her a bitch or you're gonna pay. Because she's a bitch.
So they're basically taking words that they don't like and they're repackaging them in new words, or maybe even the same words, but as long as they're saying it about themselves, then it's actually not a bad thing that should be changed, but it's a good thing. Like being a bitch, because again, a woman can say, well, I'm that bitch, and
or being sensitive and emotional.
Yeah.
So when James Damore says women are more sensitive and emotionally unstable or prone to negative emotion than men are, right? He gets fired from Google, but these women can say it because
they're saying it in they're doing it on their terms.
Oh my
They're
God.
reclaiming it or something. Okay,
yeah,
so I got some thank yous I probably should get through, and also some super chows.
Bear in mind, this
what
is
the
like
hell is a super chow?
They're basically special super chats that just go to us. That Allison set up.
That I set it up so that they go into our Discord.
Oh, okay.
So that they don't go through PayPal and they don't go through YouTube. They just go into our Discord, our Patreon Discord. Nice. Yeah. Okay. So Amasong gives us $5 and says, honest question. How might Meghan and her guests react if they saw a mouse crawling around the floor near them? I'm guessing that they don't live in a place where they would ever see any kind of vermin.
Yeah, but if they did, a bunch of people will probably get fired.
No, like how can you call a mouse vermin? I mean, like, okay, I don't want mice in my house, but if there was one in my house, I'd be like, well, it's not a wasp, like it's just a mouse. I'll just catch it and let it go outside.
Yeah. Okay. So I apologize. I apologize for applying the archetype of vermin to mice.
That's right. Like, okay, if it's a wasp, I will kill that fucker. If it's a spider, I will catch it and let it go outside.
Yeah.
And
if it's a spider and you're Scipio, you'll lick it and I think kill it in the process of licking it.
My dogs, they try and eat flies, but then they spit them out and then they try and eat them again and then they spit them out and they're still alive and it's like, oh God.
Yeah.
We call them flying raisins.
Actually, yeah. I think
sky
raisins.
raisins.
A few of those.
Sky
raisins. So Jojo likes the sky raisins.
Oh, he loves to. Yeah, if he sees them, and Lindsay will just say, "Jojo, it's a sky raisin," and he'll jump off of the couch and look for it, and he tries to. He tries to catch them. So,
it's adorable. Sky raisin. Okay, so I want to thank but before I continue, if you want to send us this message, please go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip and we get the full benefit of the funds and you get the full benefit of not having to deal with YouTube or PayPal censorship. So that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And I mean, often people aren't really sending things that deserve any kind of censorship. It's just that YouTube's algorithm.
Yeah, sometimes people try to send super chats.
And they take such a big cut, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They take a big
30%.
But
now they take more like 50, actually.
Like half.
Oh God.
I'm gonna guess that that your initials are ML, but I'm not gonna say anything more about your name. Sends us $100. Thank you, ML. Do you have sound effects anymore, Brian?
I do. I guess I just didn't really think to use them. So I don't even know what this one is.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump and you ain't black.
I just pushed it randomly. I didn't know which one it was. Here, I'll just give you a thank you.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. And thank you. And if you want to join our very generous supporters, again, it's feedthebadger.com/badger-media-blitz. And the link is in the low bar. And I think we've also been putting it through the text thing. All right. So I have another. Meredith G gives us $100.
Thank you, Meredith.
G, always coming in.
All right.
With the support.
Am I saying that I'm better than you? I guess I'm going a little further than you are. Yeah, I'm fucking better than you. Okay? Much better than you. You are garbage.
Okay.
Human garbage.
Okay,
you're garbage.
I gotta figure out how to pronounce this, because I believe this is a Japanese name. And
are you still doing the thank yous for the?
Yes, I'm still doing the thank yous for the
fundraiser.
Oh shit! Yeah,
right.
I'm still doing the thank yous for the fundraiser. But it's gonna take me a moment because I got to figure out how to pronounce somebody's name.
All right.
Why don't you type it in the chat and I'll pronounce it?
Yeah.
Copy pasta it into the chat.
I'm only putting the top all right, now I have to figure out how to get the chat thing open. All right, here we go.
Okay. Hideki?
Yeah, Hideki. It's Hideki.
Hideki? Okay, so Hideki gives us $25. Thank you, Hideki.
There you go. Yeah.
You got rid of that old yee ass haircut you got. You get some bitches on your dick.
All right.
You got rid of that.
That's from Grand Theft Auto 5. It's one of the best audio clips from a video game ever.
Okay. Just one last thing. So again, if you wanna send us a few shekels, like every bit helps. $5, $10. It's all really good to get, and the thought is what counts, and the support is really helpful as well. So go to feedthebadger.com/badger-media-blitz and put $5 in the hat. Thank you, and I think are we close to the end?
Yeah, we're close.
I used the word E. Oh, I used the E word.
We're close. Nobody's just gonna suddenly leave or die.
I'm so close.
Because you said the
so
E
close.
word. We're close.
You can find Archetypes only on Spotify.
Yeah, you hear that? Now what? I'm sipping on iced coffee in an underground studio with a duchess. Where are you?
That's basically the end. I know, it's so gross.
That's like sassy. That's like the angry black woman
No, but that was definitely a white
Archetype.
woman.
I think I don't think it was a black woman. I think it was a.
That was the sassy Karen.
It sounds like a maybe like a female comedian.
All I know is my name is Karen.
Eliza Schlesinger.
My name is Karen, and I do not mind the Karen meme.
I think actually the Karen is becoming the Amber meme.
Yeah, well, but I actually kind of like the Karen meme.
Yeah.
Like I don't fit the Karen meme. I don't fit the Karen stereotype, but like I never want to talk to the manager.
No, you're like the Bizarro Karen.
Yeah.
you're the one Karen out.
You know, like I think they should have named her the archetype Kate. You remember John and Kate plus 8?
No.
She had the Karen hair style, you know, with the frosted tips, short in the back, long in the front, very poofy, right? And she was such a cunt. I'm sorry. She was such a bitch, and she treated her husband like shit in public and on camera on national TV, right? And she was just a horrible, horrible human being. And so I think Karen should actually be Kate, but in recognition of her great achievements as a horrible bitch. But you know, like I just I don't you know, if you don't fit the archetypes, if you don't fit the stereotypes, you know that.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I mean, like we constantly get called pick-me's, but I've been thinking about that recently. I'm like, well, yeah, but what's wrong with that? And first of all, why is it only men? Why are you always like, oh, you want to be picked by men? Well, maybe we also want to be picked by women, you know?
Well, who like, okay, so
who wouldn't rather be around people who hold themselves to a standard of responsibility and don't want to be assholes?
Well, not just that. I mean, like if you want, you know, like if you have an opinion and you think that the world could benefit from that opinion, then why wouldn't you want people to pick your YouTube channel, subscribe, like, you know, like stuff, share it, you know, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, I'm not a pick-me. If I was a pick-me, I'd be wearing makeup right now. I certainly wouldn't be sporting this beautiful haircut my 20-year-old gave me 4 months ago. And why would I need a man to pick me when a man already picked me?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, you know, and the other thing is that, like, if you're a woman who holds women accountable for their actions and sees women as moral individuals who can be both bad or good, right? Why wouldn't other women want to be around you? Why would other women prefer to be around people like Meghan Markle? Like, I was researching Meghan Markle to do my short, and she has, like, apparently, I'm pretty sure she did this, but there may be some alleged to this. She announced her pregnancy to guests at Princess Eugenie's wedding. It's like,
oh yeah, way to steal the spotlight, bitch.
Yeah, way to just fire a cannon through someone else's sails, you know. And then she's also being sued by her sister for defamation because she said that she was raised as a only child. Her half sister suing her for defamation because of that statement. Because it implies that there's no real association with her half sister, except that, you know, just a grift, like
her half sister leeches off of her.
Yeah, her half sister is just usually using her fame. There was no real relationship between them during their childhood, right? So, and then she's also like telling this stuff about how she was treated by the royals, that they
oh god,
they kept her passport, they hostage or something, like they didn't let her have, and then she's like traveling the world, or they didn't let her go out on the town, and then she's going to the restaurants with her friends and shopping.
Oh, you know, no, and oh wait, they wouldn't let her get therapy They wouldn't allow her. She was depressed, suicidal even, and they wouldn't allow her to go to a therapist while her husband was a spokesperson for a mental health charity, right? And had flipping great wads of cash so that he could actually pay for her to get therapy.
Well, I mean, in this
right?
case, like,
but the royal family wouldn't put it on their dime, apparently, or wouldn't let her do it. And it's like, what, were you like a freaking prisoner in Buckingham Palace? Like you couldn't like go out with your husband and go to a therapist, a mental health specialist, paid for by your husband? What the hell? Don't you have your own bank account? Don't you have your own money? Like, what the hell? You were a child actor and then a adult actor, and like presumably you have money.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like that allegation may, like, it's like you can't directly necessarily disprove it that they didn't give her therapy, but these allegations that they held her passport, they withheld it from her, obviously are contradicted by the fact that she was traveling, and that they wouldn't let her go out on the town, obviously contradicted by the fact that she was shopping and going to restaurants, and obviously if she was doing that, she could most likely go to therapy as well under her own.
Yeah. No,
but the overall point is that she's making these fibs, she's defaming the royal family. She's like saying things that are wrong about how they treated her, and the head of the royal family is a woman. So if you look at everybody who she's seen, like a lot of her victims, or a lot of the people that she's imposed upon, or allegedly lied about, all of these people, or many of these people, are women. So why would can I just finish this? So why wouldn't women want to be around? Why would women prefer? Why wouldn't women pick other women who are going to hold themselves accountable for their behavior, who aren't going to say, oh no, you're just calling me the archetype of a bitch, but will actually try to be a decent human being? Why wouldn't women want to pick women like that too? Like, why would they want to pick Meghan Markle's?
Yeah, no, and one of the other things that Meghan Markle, she was apparently, there's like sort of a documented record of her being like a big fan of Princess Diana as a teenager, right? And as a child, and she was just like, oh, William and Harry, they must be so devastated and blah blah blah. And then she says, oh, I never even knew who Prince Harry was until I met him, right? And it's like, what?
Yeah, it's another fib.
Like, I'm just like, oh my God. And then they call us grifters. It's like,
well, like I said, like, the big thing that I've been thinking about is the pick me thing. And why is it that, why do they think it's only men who would rather be around women who actually are accountable?
Yeah.
Like I've had this in my past. Like I've had women who have been my friend because they say, you won't backstab me.
Yeah, well, I have had women, we have both had women who were our friends, or purportedly our friends, and then went on a backstabbing rampage. Right? And it's like, like, and every single time it happened, right? And they would go on this extremely public backstabbing rampage of lies and slander and all of that stuff. And you and Hannah would try and talk me out of it, and I'd be like, no, I'm fucking nuking this bitch from orbit. Boom. Right? Because that's the only way to get them to stop. Right? And you just have to know how to do it in one go. Nuke from orbit. Right? You can't just like lob little bombs, or like, explain your side of things in comment sections or whatever. No, you have to like go and like just freaking mother of all bombs, freaking blast Osama bin Laden's caves, and and then
Yeah,
just like
maybe
fucking
it would
clear
have been
out.
better for the royal family if the queen had just gone, full
Oh,
nuclear
just
option.
yeah, no, it absolutely would have. If she just disowned Harry, like not just taken away his, basically said you have no more royal duties, right? You no longer have any official duties, stuff like that. And you no longer hold the official title of prince. If she had just said, yeah, no, you're dead to me, I think maybe he might be a much happier
Mm.
divorced and very what do you call it, eligible bachelor or eligible divorcee.
Mm.
Because yeah, no, like the worst mistake of his life was crossing paths with Meghan Markle, in my opinion. Like, he had so much admiration from everybody, right?
Mhm.
And then she got into his life and she isolated
Destroyed
him
it.
from his family, and then she pulled him into her insanity, and she leads him around by the nose, and he's lost all respect from men who once respected him.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Nobody
Woof.
respects you, Brett. You're not scaring anybody. So, yeah.
I think Borat has signaled something here. Brian, did you have anything you wanted to add to all this? I know that you've been
I didn't know that she was an actress, and I thought I would look and see what she's done. Mostly haven't heard of it. She did like Hallmark movies, but she was on Fringe, if you guys remember that show, and Married with Children, apparently. So
what was she on Married and with Children?
I mean, she wasn't like
It was
I
probably a
think
guest
that
spot.
yeah, it was probably just a little spot, like like a played one character one time for one episode. Most likely a potential love interest for Bud, and it didn't work out. But maybe Bud is the one that lucks out in this case. But yeah, like she yeah, I was just curious because I do know that I think that she's pretty good friends with Oprah and all that, but yeah, it's yeah, she was on Fringe. So, and somebody in the chat said she played an FBI agent in one episode of Fringe. So yeah, it was like a lot of bit parts, and she was in like a couple of Hallmark movies. So not exactly like a crazy ass, storied career.
Not wildly successful.
No, she was
career as an actress.
Yeah,
so she decided to take it into turn her acting career into a acting career as the put upon princess wife of, princess bride of a prince who is perpetually a victim.
Yeah. She was also in 90210, but the remake that came later, as well as Castle, which these are all shows I've never watched because I think TV is fucking terrible, and a show called Suits, and she was in Horrible Bosses, I think. Which
Suits is the one that she's most known for. I think she had like a recurring role in that, or
yeah,
she was part of the actual cast.
Yeah. So there you go.
But yeah, no, it's she's not that successful. It's kind of like Jussie Smollett.
Yeah,
right?
it is like Jussie Smollett. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was a child actor. Nobody really knew who he was. It's not like that dude who like used the tardigrade DNA in Star Trek Discovery, right? But he was a child actor, but everybody knows who he is, or the dude from Weird Science who put the bra on his head, and everybody knows who he is.
You're talking about the guy from all those John Hughes movies? Isn't it the same guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And he actually grew into some fairly masculine looks. Kid. His last name, I think, is Kid. God, what the fuck is his name?
Weird Science, right? All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Anthony Michael, isn't it Anthony Michael Hall?
Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, Anthony Michael Hall, because I know him from Breakfast Club. And,
Yeah.
He was in everything back then. He was in everything.
He filled out really well as an adult. He was in some kind of freaking show called Kid or something like that, which was like a dude whose last name was Kid. But
he looks like Bad Luck Brian, the meme. He does.
As a young youngster?
when he was young, when he was a teenager.
Yeah, no, but he aged well. But
all right, let's pull this back in because I want to get to the super chows. Do we have any super chats?
I do have a super chow. I'm looking at it. Hyper Chicken gives us $5 and says, Wolf Blitzer, these women are so stunning and they are so brave and they are so black. End quote. The fungible nature of group identities today is becoming sheer mental deficiency.
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah.
When I first saw Meghan Markle,
this
is probably going to be racist, I did not realize she was black.
Well, you would be right because she is mixed. So, like, she's mixed race, but here... The political thing about being mixed race, but one of those races is black, is that you get to call yourself black even though you're not, because you're mixed race. But she will leverage that as often as she wants. I mean, like, we're looking at probably one of the most privileged women on earth. She's basically married into the royal family or something in proximity to it. And she has a podcast. Spotify just makes it #1. She's clearly doing well, but she can't like make that like the primary focus. So she goes on and on about her race, but it's really, she's mixed race. So like that's like Obama. Obama's mixed race, but Obama will tell you that he's black because he knows the advantages that are inherent in claiming to be black. So he will cash in on it because it means that, we can't criticize him, right? And this is the same thing with Meghan Markle. So if you say, I don't like her because she said this or because she's done this or because of these actions that she's taken, she believes that she can just like cash in the black female card and use it to silence her opponents and just get her a bunch of kudos. And that's all it is. It's all about political expediency.
I should start saying I'm like Métis or Native.
Well, if you like dig into your history enough and you find that that you might have Native, you could probably invoke it. As long as,
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you could just do what Elizabeth Warren does and don't even bother looking into it and just make the claim,
On my mother's side, I descended from a line of French voyageurs in Quebec. Mm-hmm. And there's some suspicion that I have a great grandma.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's great. Yeah,
Native women. Native women got it going on. If you run into a hot one, why not?
My husband's grandmother was status Native, and and he's not status because but he was status enough, right, to play on in sports leagues reserved for Indigenous / Aboriginal.
Yeah, but if your grandmother is Native, doesn't it make you status?
No, not back then.
Oh, I see.
Not until 1958 or something. Status was traced through the male line of the family.
Oh.
So his grandmother was white, right? She married a Native, and so she got status. But her children. It's very confusing. Like she could not pass on her status to her children unless they were also the children of her status holding husband. And and everybody in the family was pretty sure that my husband's lineage is the product of great grandmother cheating. So
oh, I see.
Yeah, okay. but like it's enough. And if you're Métis, you you don't actually have official status. There's nothing in the Indian Act in Canada that provides you with status, which is kind of like a weird limbo that Métis are in. But yeah, no. So he actually used that on his last job application, as a Métis man, and they were like, called him same day, said, do you have time at 6 p.m. for a Zoom call? And yeah.
Yeah, this is really crazy. Like he's right. It's mind sort of spinning. Like anyway, but I just wanted to also. I think we don't. I'll take another look to see if there's any further people to thank, because we can next week we can do some more of the actual promo, right?
I do have a video. They're calling it a preview. I don't know if I have to make a Spotify account to actually play like the whole episode, but here's a taste of it.
Oh God.
When I was 11 years old, growing up in LA, I saw a commercial that would change the way I understood my place in the world. Let me be clear. It wasn't because this ad was some kind of ingenious piece of marketing. Actually, it was just the opposite. So here's what happened. I was in the 6th grade, I'm sitting in my classroom, and we were watching TV when a commercial came on.
The gloves are coming off. Women are fighting greasy pots and pans with Ivory Clear.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember when commercials were aimed at like men and women depending on their interests and like what they typically do
and their roles?
Yeah, and
right?
their roles. Yeah, and their
expectations.
Roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's like okay, so if I can't get the lid off the jar of spaghetti sauce, I hand it to my husband and say, "Can you help me out here?" It's like, I mean, and I am one of those people. I'm one of those women who, like, I do all kinds of man things, like build fences.
Only women can fight
landscaping
grease.
And snake drains and all of that, right? Like shit that most women would be like, "Honey, here's your honey-do list," right? If something like that needs to be done, I do it. But it's like I don't find the
I don't buy that any of this happened.
Stereotypes to be. I mean, I just had to jump. I brought my husband out. I watched a YouTube video first to refresh my memory. The order in which you put the cables on the batteries to jump a car. And then I brought him out to like just make sure that if I electrocuted myself, there was someone to call the ambulance. But it's like, I don't find those kinds of stereotypes to be insulting.
Well, because you don't
limiting.
find yourself, like, the thing is that here's the big difference. You're not searching for a way to be a victim.
I'm not searching for a way or things to annoy me. There's plenty of things that annoy me already without me looking for them.
Okay. All right. If you're listening to a commercial that says women are using this product to do a thing, like if it was a commercial that said men are using this degreasing tool to blah, 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 or degreasing substance, like how do you go from that to, oh, this commercial's defined my entire existence?
Yeah, no, it's like, I don't know. Like, I guess maybe I grew up with a tomboy mom, right? And a dad who was like, "Oh, fuck, at least one of my daughters is kind of like the son I always wanted and never had." Here, you want to learn how to butter floor tiles? But like my mom did everything. Like she did everything. She did like a lot of extremely hard outdoor work, staining fences and staining siding and, doing all that kind of crap that a lot of women how about this, right? I'm out in my backyard in Port McNeill, BC. I'm chipping with an iron bar through a patch of hardpan to terrace the yard, right? So I'm chipping through this. It's almost like semi-sedimentary rock. It's as close to rock as it gets, right? And I'm chipping away at it, and my feminist friend comes over, and she finds me in the backyard, and she's like, "Why are you doing that? Don't you know you're supposed to rip a page out of a home and garden magazine, hand it to your husband, and say, make the backyard look like this?" I'm like, you're the feminist. What the hell?
No, I swear to God, the feminism is just a freaking tool to manipulate men.
Yeah.
And it's infuriating because it's very abusive.
Yeah.
Like, it's abusive to essentially say, you don't care about me because this hasn't been done yet.
Yeah.
To deny the very thing that you are going to exploit about the man in your life, which is his care and concern for you. Ugh, God, it's gross. I got into this recent argument on the channel with this individual. Before I get into that, if you guys are gonna be tolerating it, Eric the Dead came back, and Eric, if you're listening, what you're putting through didn't go through. I don't know if you intended to do, because what he's done is he put through an additional $500 on the fundraiser. It didn't go through. So and then he also put $50 towards a super chow. So I don't know if he accidentally had that $500 from before. But anyway, it's not, whatever you put through just now isn't going through, Eric. So you might want to take a look at that. And okay, and I'll tell you about this freaking conversation I had. So someone came on one of my my what are those things, videos, and he started off with this little screed. Grifter mode. First of all, he calls me a grifter. Because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Male privilege is demonstrated by men experiencing less domestic violence, less sexual assault, and less predation by sex traffickers. Anti-feminists love to portray the before times of jobless stay-at-home moms as idyllic, but the fact that women weren't allowed to own property for a long time, something obviously directly tied to earning wealth, and domestic abuse laws weren't very formal until the 20th century. Marital rape wasn't even criminalized until 1993, but I'm sure these pick-me's would rather get beaten by a real man than work a boring job where they can make money and have their own lives outside of their husband's permission. Pretty sure that this is not a Nick. I feel like this is probably just the word choice feels more feminine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there's so much wrong with your historical facts.
Yeah.
Like, first of all,
and current facts.
And current facts. First of all, you know that women in ancient Rome owned 30% of the brick foundries. If you know anything about ancient Rome, that is like the primary business. And when you get into the more female-oriented business, like breweries, clothing, home crafts, food, hospitality, rental, you know that there's significantly more female ownership.
Yeah.
And Christianity.
Brewster and Webster, the suffix "ster" on a last name is female. So a Brewster was a female brewer, and a Webster was a female weaver, and those are still common surnames because a lot of Brewsters and Websters were unmarried and had children, but they were tradespeople.
Yeah. So I mean, this, and also women could take part in their husband's trade.
They could inherit his master status.
Yeah. So the idea that women didn't own property is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Of course they own property. And in fact, it was wealthy widows that originally gave Christianity, like made Christianity into a religion, like gave it its start. Legitimacy.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're that one fact is, and I don't even want to get into the other facts. That one fact is so flawed that
Yeah.
it should cast doubt on all of your other facts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even want to deal with that. So I'm going to ask this guy a question, a simple question. When do you think men started to care about women? And he comes back with, when women started applying enough political pressure through protests and riots, and politicians started to realize that capitalism doesn't actually care about what gender you are and that anyone can sit in a factory and manufacture parts. Okay, and then I replied with, so throughout all of human history, men have oppressed women. They made sure that women worked the expendable roles and starved first.
Yeah.
And then he responds, and what's interesting here is he doesn't argue that because it's inarguable.
Yeah.
Men getting a bad shake. So he doesn't argue the fact that I've said that men essentially said in the reverse that men were expendable and they were less likely to be provided for and protected.
Yeah.
And he says men getting a bad shake in historical periods doesn't really disprove patriarchy, since men were always the dominant social force in those situations. Doesn't really help that men excluded women from armed service for centuries. And this is what I came back with. And this is why I opened up with that question. It certainly disproves the idea that men didn't care about women if they were in charge and still took on the expendable roles and starved first.
Yeah.
Like, and he hasn't responded yet.
Yeah.
Maybe he's waiting for the perfect rejoinder. But it's like, okay, you're saying men are in charge.
Yeah.
Well, then they chose to take the most dangerous jobs. They chose to be put themselves in the most expendable positions. Why would they do that if they didn't care about women?
Yeah, no, it's like you remember that panel? I forget where it was, but it was a panel with Mike Buchanan and a couple of feminists. And, you know, he says, well, he makes the point, you know, like most of, you know, there's this gender justice gap, right? And it disproves patriarchy. It disproves the idea of male privilege. And then the feminist comes back with, but those aren't female judges. Those are mostly male judges. And he's like, way to prove my point.
Yeah.
Right? If male judges are harsher on men than they are on women, then there is no male privilege under a patriarchy.
Well, under men in charge. Because
when men are in charge, they don't give privilege to other men.
Well, yeah, like, okay, for example, the best example of that is the draft versus the vote. Every other group of men that was disenfranchised had to die in war.
Yeah.
Had to offer themselves up as a sacrifice for the protection of society before they were granted a say in it. Women just said, we want the vote. And they did not have to die in war first. So it's that's a completely different way of getting the vote. So it's like all of this is just, and the other thing is that you can accept that it may have been very necessary for women to become a political force, to get jobs outside the home, because they had lost their purpose in the home and they had lost the control that they used to have over very critical aspects of human existence. You can say that. You can say it was necessary without saying that men were oppressing women because they
like that renegotiation of gender roles is perfectly fine, and I have no problem with that, right? It's the oppression narrative, the patriarchal oppression narrative that I have a problem with. It's that it has no real factual basis, and that it unjustly maligns men historically, and it's just like oh, all those evil men back then. Oh, all those evil men over there, right? You know, and what makes them evil? They oppress their own women. And it's like, no, that's actually not what men's nature is. Some men, yes. Men in general, no. So,
well, it's just like people can't see how, like you're talking about Jordan Peterson saying everybody in that room is a miracle.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of women can't see how much men sacrifice for society and thus for their provision and protection.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, anyway, but this particular Eric the Dead's pledge and or super chat is stuck in the pipe.
It's in limbo.
it's in limbo, so I don't know what I think we should just okay, anyway. So if you want to send us a super chat and send us a message, send us a tip, you can go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. If you want to make sure that we have the funds to keep running for next month, please go to feedthebadger.com/badger-media-blitz. I think Brian wants to say something.
He probably wants to say, I gotta go.
No, I mean, no, it's fine. I was just checking super chows and I don't see any, so I guess that's why I threw my so no. And super chats, there's nothing there either. That's all. Sorry for making you think I wanted to say something.
Okay, well,
it's okay.
You should be sorry, Brian. Very, very sorry. But yeah, I probably should go.
Yep.
We probably should end this. It's been like what, 2.5 hours now?
Yeah, we can always do the intro one as well. Like that's short, right, Brian? It's not hugely long.
Yeah, it's short. I mean, I think so. I haven't gotten very far into
it. Well, how long does it say it is?
It doesn't say. It just says play preview. And if I click it plays a preview of this archetypes thing.
Okay.
So,
well, yeah, we'll take a look at it maybe next week. Do another Funzerker.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead, Brian. Usher us out.
All right,
Take
then.
us out.
If you guys like this video, please smash the like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications so you know when our shows go live. And most importantly, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's show of the episode of the Rantzerker, sorry, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay, they are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.